Shedeur Sanders' rookie report card is in, and it says that he should not be handed the starting job for the Cleveland Browns. He must earn it.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian, Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And on today's episode, we're breaking down the rookie report for quarterback Shedeur Sanders. We're going to explain the grade, give you the concerns from his rookie film, talk about the pros, as well as, guys, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started, Keith. I don't say much of my line, but definitely the most polarizing name.
Polarizing. Yeah, polarizing is a great word.
Most polarizing name out of last year's draft class, especially from the quarterbacks, was Shedeur Sanders, and coming out of Colorado. And on the season, Keith, he completed 56.6% percentage of his passes. He threw for 1,400 yards, had 8 total touchdowns. Keith, when you looked at the tape and talk about the pros, what are some of the good things you saw that translated from college football for Shedeur into the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's one word, right? And for me, that word is anticipation. And I feel as though he's an anticipatory thrower. In my opinion, I thought that he went through, go through his reads, right, and especially over the middle of the field, DP. We talk about different concepts like passing route concepts. I thought he was a guy that was willing to let the football go early, and understanding the timing, right? Like being able to throw it before a wide receiver actually clears that zone, right? Like, when we talk about those kind of deep ends, dig routes, stuff like that, that throwing it before he actually clears that defender. And of the rookie quarterbacks, DP, and we've done 3 so far, right? We've done 3 so far. I may put him at number 1, DP. And I think it's because, and the reason I say that, I think he has to lean on it, right? And we'll get into the cons of, the physical tools that he may not have. I think he has to do that because he doesn't have the arm strength of a Cam Ward and, like just being able to rip it off of your back foot and just, beam it in there. So in my opinion, I went with anticipation.
Yeah, I think for me, kid, I went with accuracy. When he's protected, he can get the ball to his weapons, right? Being able to accurately throw the ball, especially I think you see the flashes of him in the quick game. To your point about the processing and being able to get the ball out of his hands early and quickly. Heck, he threw it should have been a touchdown. He threw a go ball up the sideline to Jerry Jeudy. Yep. I think it was against the Browns, maybe. I think it was against the Browns.
No,
and was that the yeah? Because it was against Jalen Johnson, I think, the star corner from the Bears. I mean, the Bears.
Yeah, but I said the Browns. That's what I was like.
Against the Bears, and he got it out early, right? It was a good route, good release by Jerry Jeudy, and he put the ball there for Jerry Jeudy to go make a play, and Jalen Johnson just snatched the ball away from Jerry Jeudy, and it became an interception. And I was just like, that's why I always, hey, listen, guys, watch the film, watch the turnovers and stuff like that to see kind of who's at fault, things of that nature. But overall, Keith, I think, the accuracy and everything, I think that's where he's really buttered his bread, was being the accurate quarterback, guy that can get the ball to his weapons from the pocket when protected. I appreciated his ability to make some checks and adjustments to the line of scrimmage and everything in this offense. I think in the quick passing game, spot concepts, things of that nature, slant flats, making the right read, the right decision, and then getting the ball out to the quick option, right? Just being able, because I think to your point, as we talk about it in the next segment, hey, yeah, he has to kind of play on time and even a little bit ahead of schedule. You know what I mean? Just to accommodate for some of the lack of physical tools. I think I would probably say his best throw, Keith, honestly, was against the Raiders. I think it might have been his first start. That 52-yarder to Isaiah Bond, like he just he got pressure, he rolled out. And it was just like a flick of the wrist, and it hit him right in stride. Yeah. He didn't have to break. He caught it right in stride for the most part and everything. So I like what I saw. There were some good things. I mean, the situation wasn't the best, with the head coach and O-line and receivers, but I like what I saw from Shedeur overall.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, DP, was the arm strength, was it better than what you thought from him coming out of college? Was it on par? Was it less than? How did you feel about his arm strength? And also too, because I caught myself in between because I think NFL film is a clearer quality also, right? So I was like, oh, that's a pretty ball. But I was like, I'm also watching better looking film, right? So I wanted to ask you if you caught yourself in that kind of landscape.
Definitely. I think it's probably slightly. I think the velocity is like slightly worse than what I thought. I thought in college it looked, it might be just the hash marks and the spacing of college ball. I felt like his ball, when he drove it, it got there quicker in college compared to the NFL. But I don't think it's something, in terms of like, he doesn't have Mac Jones' arm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's a Mac Jones type of quarterback. Like, I feel like he has enough of velocity and arm. It may not have the most pop and juice to it as a Josh Allen, even Lamar Jackson has a strong arm to be able to just rip some of the throws into those tighter windows. He's the guy that's going to have to live more on the lines of, hey, anticipatory throws, but also I do have enough velocity to get it there.
Yeah, 100%. I also like there were moments, and I know it doesn't reflect in this, right? Because I think his season statistics were 7, 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. I think 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, right? Throwing the football. I would say that I thought there were moments where in rhythm he appeared to be like a high IQ player, right? Like I thought when he got it right, right? Like and you've seen his flow, right? As far as him operating the pocket, climbing the pocket, throwing the football, throwing on time. Like when he got it right pre-snap, and the pre-snap look was the post-snap answer, right? I thought that he played well, he played time, and he played quick, he played confident, and got the football out. I would say that part.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why, for me, Keith, the protection was a big thing. We walked into free agency knowing like, hey, we got to fix the offensive line, and they did just that. They got 4 or 5 new starters on the offensive line and everything. So really hoping to see what it looks like for him behind a competent offensive line. Because I keep saying he hasn't had a competent offensive line that he trusted probably since Jackson State at the HBCU level, where when he hit the portal, he was people are excited about him, but they knew he was going with his dad to, Colorado, wherever his dad went. But people were excited about him as a transfer portal prospect in college football because of what he put on tape at Jackson State. That was the best version of Shedeur, in my opinion. At Jackson State. He was sound. He was decisive. He could be those things with the offensive line that he had there compared to what we saw at Colorado, where he wasn't always playing with that same level of confidence and decisiveness, because it's like, I can't just drop back foot hits, read and throw. I have to drop back, look for the rush, anticipate somebody leaking through, because typically that was every single game. So definitely looking forward to seeing how he can build upon those blocks that he put on and put on the field as a rookie.
Yep. Well, DP, let's do this, man. Let's talk about the concerns, and I'm picking up vibes, right? I'm trying to understand vibes at the end of the day, and I feel like you have some concerns. I don't know if you're excited about this situation, so we'll definitely have that conversation coming up, and we talk about concerns coming up for Shedeur Sanders.
Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure is on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now to support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Breaking down the concerns after watching the rookie film for Shedeur Sanders. But don't forget to check out the Everyday Club for ad-free episodes and access to our group chat with me, Keith, and other listeners of this show. Tap the link in the show notes to go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com. Shedeur Sanders, Keith, the concerns when it came down to Shedeur. Shedeur threw 7 touchdowns. He had, I think, a rushing touchdown, so he had 8 total. He threw 10 interceptions. Now, again, I just broke down that Jalen Johnson one that was not an actual interception. Jalen Johnson took the ball from Jerry Jeudy. You know what I mean? It just kind of, that wasn't on Shedeur. But I would say, like, when I think about, like, the concerns with him, Keith, he did have some throws where, for me, his eyes, like he doesn't use his eyes to move guys. He actually brought defenders into the window. And he also tipped his hand at times. And you know how NFL defenders, especially those either blitzers or these D linemen, they're taught at the line of scrimmage, if you can't get through, get your hands up. And he telegraphed where he was going with the ball. And I think was it against the Bears? Because he threw like 2 interceptions, I think, against the Bears. Yeah, 3 actually. He threw 3. And one of them, I believe it was like Tremaine Edmonds was a delayed blitzer. And he knew he wasn't getting home, but he jumped up, got his hands up, tipped the ball, became a tip drill. They ended up coming down with the possession. And I'm like, they already know kind of, you've kind of tipped your hand of what you want to do in this game. You want to get the ball out quick, things of that nature. But in the pocket, you're not, as soon as the ball snaps, he's looking dead at his target. In the NFL, you can't do that. You kind of have to move guys. You got to be as manipulative and deceptive with your eyes as possible. And I wanted to see him just kind of improve on that fact, Keith, as well as because also he would bring his eyes down to the rush sometimes when he felt pressure, and now he's trying to maneuver and make plays. I felt like he got sped up because of the pressure in certain games. Certain defenses that couldn't get to him as quick, he was fine. But if they started getting to him early in the games, I felt like his eyes dropped down. He's rushing this process. He's not playing as decisive because he doesn't trust what's in front of him because he's getting pressured. And that's why I'm excited to see training camp and everything else. I'm like, hey, man, once we get into the pads on, how does he look behind a rebuilt offensive line?
No, so I agree with you with that. And that's why I said in the first segment, right, that I thought that when he got it right pre-snap, the entire thing went right. But the other side of that, when it comes to interceptions, I think, like I said, it's 10 interceptions on the season, was if there was some type of change post-snap, you watched him play much slower, right? And we talked about the lack of, I guess you could say, elite physical tools. I'm willing to say that, right? Like Shedeur Sanders is not a guy that has an elite arm, right? Like he's not going to win by just throwing 100-mile-per-hour fastballs in the tight windows. That's not his game. It has to be anticipation. So in my opinion, DP, I think that the focus needs to be becoming an even better student of the game, right? Like you have to get an A+, right? Pre-snap, like you pre-snap, you have to get that part right, because post-snap you don't necessarily have the physical tools to throw it late, right? And we talk about the Aaron Rodgers, the Brett Favres, the Josh Allens, those guys. And I know in past, right, like this is what you probably kind of leaned into in your quarterback evaluations of wanting guys with high level physical tools, right? And it's because of those situations, right, that hey, if you don't get it right the first time, you have the opportunity to make up for it, whether that's arm strength or whether that's running ability and physical tools via that way with Shedeur Sanders. So I agree with you. I think that there has to be he has to take a step as a student of the game and understanding. And listen, being a rookie quarterback, right? Some of this stuff is new to you. Some of the stuff you've never seen. And then also, and I look at it from this perspective, right? That, and you mentioned this, that his best film was at Jackson State, right? But it's also an HBCU, right? Like it's a lower level of college football. Then you take the Colorado situation, right? You're still not playing in the Big Ten or the SEC at the end of the day, right? So this was another step up for you in level of competition. And I think, in my opinion, I thought there were times where he looked, where the game looked fast for him. And I think you can tell early on in a snap, in my opinion, when it was going to go wrong, right? Like this don't look good, right? And you could tell it in the first half a second, like this not going to work.
You definitely can see the process. You're like, no, the result of this is not going to be a positive play at all. So I'm with you, Keith, and I think you said it, like when when defenses changed post snap, because I got, like you talked about, and it kind of coincided with what I talked about with the quick game. If he's at the line of scrimmage and he's surveying the defense, like, you know what, this looks like cover 2. And it's cover 2, he got to his answer. right? He got to the open guy. He got the ball out quickly. And then there's, oh, yeah, we're showing you cover 2. Nope, this is cover 3. And it's just like, like, you know what I mean? It's just like you see that realization kind of in real time of like watching film, like, this is not what I thought it was. And now I have to find the guy that's going to be open in against this coverage, right? And that's why, hey, I'm big on. I've been very adamant. I don't believe in paying quarterbacks the way that the NFL pays quarterbacks, but I will say, mentally they are that is the most taxing position from a mental standpoint, without question. The speed of what you got to process, the stuff you have to do pre and post snap. Give them all the credit in the world. Do I believe they deserve 60, 70, $80 million APY? Absolutely not. I do not. And I'm going to stand on that. I don't care how people feel, but I definitely feel like he definitely looked like a rookie. He looked like a rookie. And crazy enough, like, you tied it together well. I didn't even think about it. Yeah. He never played, even when Colorado went to, because were they in the Big 12 the first year? Like this first year, I think it might have been. I think that was the first year.
Yeah, I think it was a transition. Yeah, I think he was there doing a transition.
But we know the Big 12 is more like it's not a. It's.
Whether he was in a Big 12 or Pac-12,
it was the same thing. So it's just like it just kind of was what it was. He wasn't in the Big 10 or the SEC where you're going to see these different defenses and just different defensive looks. Right, like we talked about when we broke down David Bailey.
Talent at the end of the day, right? Like
talent too. Yeah.
We evaluate the film, right? And how many defensive linemen did you watch out of the? You talked about, I forgot what prospect we were talking about.
David Bailey, probably.
Yeah, probably David Bailey, right? We're talking about coming out of the Big 12, and you got a 250-pound D lineman playing nose tackle, right?
Nose tackle. All those are crazy.
Yeah, it's a totally different ball game. So
it is not the NFL where you got real D tackles and the edge rushers are playing their actual position and different things like that. But I think, for him, definitely getting settled in. I'll also say, Keith, from a concern standpoint, just off of the film, but it also ties to some of the stuff that, interviews and things like that. I don't believe there was a great synergy between him and Kevin Stefanski. You know what I mean? I don't believe that, because there was, oh man, I can't remember which game it was, but it was like 1st and 10. They just passed the 50-yard line. I think they were in like 12, but it was like kind of almost a heavy with like a bunch look. And they ran 4 verts. And I'm like, why? I was like, your offensive line is struggling to protect as it is, and you're running 4 verts. I think he ended up getting sacked, or he threw an interception off of it.
And we have another segment to get to, right? Explain the grade. And I know we're going to discuss some of those things. I mean, just schematically, why are we running 4 verts with 2 tight ends on the field, right? Like, you're tight, like, and you do have
1st and 10.
Yeah, and you do have David and Joko. I get it, right? But your tight ends usually are not outrunning defensive backs vertically up the field. And we add in this Cleveland Browns wide receiver core, that ain't winning either. So
that was an experience watching this receiver core with Shedeur. And I was just like, what am I watching right now? Like, this is insane. That just what they put on the field, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, but I think for him, man, just that's going to be a big thing. Like, slowing the game down, the game getting slower for him, and him be able to play at his speed. Like, I think he'll be all right once he gets used to the speed of the NFL. And we always talk about this with rookie quarterbacks. Hey, the spacing in college is different. That's why I'm glad we do this, because I felt like his arm was better in college. Then we get into NFL throwing windows, and I'm like, okay, maybe I was a little off, because the spacing is different in the NFL. These windows close much tighter than they do in college football. So, I think playing with anticipation, throwing with timing, getting into his drops and everything like that, because that was probably my other thing, because it's him and Bryce. They are the two that do this a lot, where they do that kind of back pedal drop back. And I absolutely hate it personally, because it, like, your feet are nowhere near ready to throw. You have to be you have to have really quick feet to be able to transition, because it's almost like backpedaling like a safety. Like, the ball snapping, you just full backpedal, and now you got to flip and get your feet aligned to the target, your base right. It's a lot of wasting time, in my opinion, unless you're just your lower half is really quick twitch. I'm good on that. Like, let's get the tradition. Watch that Tom Brady, watch that Peyton, that Drew Brees, those Phillip Rivers, right? get that normal crossover step, that old school drop back. Get that cooking. Get to the top of your drop and get the ball out. When you're doing that type of stuff, especially with a bad offensive line, that's a no-go. You're wasting time. Let's make time a priority in 2026.
Yeah, well, for the listeners, it seems like DP is not a fan of the new school, man. He's old school. He's trying to bring it back. Back to the 1990s.
I'm yelling at the cloud, Keith, like the Simpsons episode. Old man yells at the cloud. I'm yelling at the cloud right now.
You know, they call that onk status, DP. That's what they would call it, onk status. But listen,
I'm definitely
we're about to have a fun conversation, DP, because I think we've taken the process. While we went through pros, we went through concerns, but you know what we do? We're about to drop our grade, right? What do we grade for Shedeur Sanders? And we're going to talk about this in context of the entire situation. So I'm really excited to have this conversation, and I'm about to ask DP some questions, see how he really feels about Shedeur Sanders with the Cleveland Browns. So we're going to talk about that, discuss that coming up.
The NBA playoffs are here and in full swing, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. And I love using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, and matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. Whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level and layer of excitement to every game. And it's a really easy app to navigate and makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. So you can go right now and look up the current lines and odds and be able to base your bets off of that. Guys, head to FanDuel.com to get started. Again, head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Explain the rookie grade for Shedeur Sanders, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Keith, what after, because again, part of this is situation, everything else that we put into our grades, not just the numbers. And no, we put everything into the pot. We mix it up and we get our result. What was the grade that you gave Shedeur Sanders coming off his rookie season?
Yeah, I gave him a C, DP. I gave him a C, just a flat out C, not a C plus, not a C minus, just average. I thought you looked like an average rookie quarterback, which there's a lot of context to add to this, right? Average rookie quarterback for a 5th-round quarterback, or for a quarterback that was supposed to be the 2nd best quarterback in the class, or for a quarterback there's so many what's the level and the bar that you grade him at? Because if this was a 5th-round quarterback, then you say, okay, we might have something. But people don't look at him as a 5th-round quarterback because some people feel he's the 2nd best quarterback in the class, right? So there's a lot of moving pieces, right, when you're trying to add the context and the situation for Shedeur Sanders, right? Because I think you started the podcast off by saying like probably the most polarizing quarterback in the draft class, right? So I gave him a C. I thought he did some good things, but I'm gonna toss it to you and ask you for your draft grade, and I definitely want to get into the conversation of the surrounding situations, right, and how we felt about that. So I'm gonna ask you, what grade did you give him?
Man, I gave him a C minus, Keith. I'm not gonna lie, I did teeter on the D plus. I was like, there were some things I wanted to see him just because it was like I had him in such a different regard.
DP, I wanted to get to that because I kind of feel as though you didn't like the film you watched, and that was starting from the pros segment.
Not necessarily, because it was like watching them at Colorado. I had him in such more higher regard, Keith, and I was like, again, like you said, factor 5th-round rookie. Went to the situation, so I bumped his grade up to a C minus because I was like, all right, what would he have looked like in New York? You know what I mean? What would he look like in a different situation where in New Orleans and like with a better play caller or a coach that is embracing what he has? Because Keith, I'll say this. I'll say 2 things. Number one, because I know this is going to be a topic. It's been a topic since for all minicamp. Right, for them, it's like, who looks like the starter, him or Deshaun Watson? I don't believe off the tape that he should be just given the job. I believe he absolutely should go out there and outplay Deshaun in practice, in spring training, all the stuff like that in the preseason. Go out there and earn that job. So once you earn it and you get to week one, there is no question. I'm the starter. I beat this man out for the job, right? But two, looking at the situation with Kevin Stefanski, here's how I feel about it, Keith. You know the phrase, if you get lemons, make lemonade. I felt like Kevin Stefanski, once he had to play Shedeur, because I truly believe in you. Then you look at what he's done in Atlanta. He went and got Tua, which is very similar archetype as a Dylan Gabriel, weak arm, lefty quarterback, undersized, stuff like that. He's got a little bit of a type. So I'm like, oh, okay. So that it wasn't just Cleveland. No, you like this archetype. All right, cool. So I felt like it was a situation where they gave him lemons. He, instead of making lemonade, adding sugar to make it better, he just ate the peel and then blamed the lemon. And I'm just like, no, that was your fault. Nobody told you to do that. Nobody told you to eat the peel off the lemon. You should have juiced it. You should have put some sugar to it. You should have made lemonade, brother. Like, you were supposed to be a really good play caller. You should have just dialed things up that was going to fit what Shedeur Sanders does well, or even talking with him and having, like, what, 3rd and 10. Like, I mean, when I did the podcast, the interview with Cole Payton, I said, hey, 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, you got to have it. What's your go-to play call? And he described, he broke down exactly the play call, the 1 or 2 play calls he would make to convert and keep the chains moving. Well, you know what? If I can ask that question to a prospect, Kevin Stefanski, I'm pretty sure you should ask that question to your starting quarterback, right? And everything. So I just, the situation wasn't good. The receivers, Jerry Jeudy, per True Media, had 9 drops on the season. That's not good. Cedric Tillman was hurt. It was a lot going on. Keith, I'll say this. Isaiah Ball might have been their most, like, dangerous weapon on the field because I liked his rookie film.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the biggest fan of Isaiah Ball, right? Like, I didn't have a 1st-round grade on him or a 2nd round, right? Like, it was 3rd and beyond. And so that speaks to the wide receiver core a lot. DP, in going through this, you know what I had to do? One, it's the Cleveland Browns, right? And I had to embrace that the Browns are browning, right? They're browning. And what I mean by that is we're in May, right? It's Monday, May 18th, right?
Yep.
But we got to go all the way back to October and November and December and remember the chaos that was surrounded around the Cleveland Browns, right? And the fact that we didn't know how many snaps Shedeur Sanders was taking in practice. We didn't know when he was going to play. We didn't know if he was the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th string quarterback, right? All of these were conversations, DP, of how, you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's running with the 3rd team. He's running with the 2nd team. He may be the number 1 starting quarterback. He may not. Dylan Gabriel
entered the season as QB3. It was Joe Flacco, then Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, yep. You kind of get what I'm saying? And then there was the whole general manager situation. It was the whole drafting him and people wasn't excited. It was the owners, I think his family wearing his jersey on the sideline, and then the head coach was not excited about it, right? Like, there was so many different factors that went into this that it honestly, and it's not about making excuses, right? But this is our 3rd or 4th evaluation, right? Evaluating the rookie quarterbacks, and Jackson Dart was put in a situation where he had support. And I'm not talking about player support. I'm talking about the head coach liked them, right? That the owner wanted them to succeed. Like, that there was, from a top-down perspective, everybody was on the same page of, if we're going to play this guy, let's try to make him be the best version of himself, right? Cam Ward was given the keys from the very beginning. You're our quarterback. Go in, go do what you have to do. Go be the guy. We're going to give you what we can from a support level. Now, like I said, it's not the roster thing. I'm talking about from the ownership to the head coach, that they were doing things to be supportive of him. So it kind of made it difficult because I had to go back to what was the actual season for the Cleveland Browns, right? And by the time Shedeur Sanders, because, I mean, we're taking a sample size off of, I think his first start was in November, right? So, I mean, you're kind of halfway through the season. You're kind of halfway getting your teeth kicked in anyway already, right? Like, you're already bad. And then you got to ask yourself, how many starters were healthy? How many starters were hurt, right? Like just all of these different factors that played a part in it. And then, DP, it's the Cleveland Browns. So how many of them were like, hey, we halfway through the season, we ain't good. Like I'm like they start like and we have to understand this. They may start 1, 2, 3 Cancun. They may start that in October. You know what I'm saying? like so I just and I'm being honest, right? Like that's like pulling back the veils of college football. I mean NFL football. Like this is part of it, right? Like these guys understand we're not good. Like I'm not about to risk injury to myself. And then you have to ask, what are you throwing him?
I mean, heck, Keith, Joe Flacco left, went to Cincinnati, and looked much better than he did in Cleveland.
Baker Mayfield, right? Like they have a long history of doing this.
Yes, so like they do. They 100% do.
Yeah, so I think there's plenty of blame to go to Shedeur Sanders of what he needs to get better. But when I factor in my grade, like I said, I gave him average because how many quarterbacks look good in Cleveland, right? So I'm like, you know what? I just give you average, but you're survived, right? You get an A for survival in Cleveland with that situation. But I'll definitely be excited to see just to talk about what's next for Shedeur Sanders, right? Be excited to see what the new head coach coming in at Todd Monken, what he's going to be able to do. They have revamped weapons, right? And we know it was an issue, right? When we talk about the wide receiver core, they drafted 2. They went
two in the top 35, like 2 in the top 35.
Yeah, 2 of their top 3 picks were wide receivers, right? So they knew it was an issue, and then we talked about the protection. They went and got offensive line help. They addressed it. So I'm interested.
4 new offensive linemen, like 4 new offensive linemen,
4 new offensive
free agency and the draft. Spencer Fano, Titus Howard, Elton Jenkins, and Zion Johnson. Like they went and got 4 new guys that were not on the roster last year. Through like that's how bad it was for them and everything. And to your point, that's why. Because one of the things that carried over for him that I want to see him stop doing is the drifting, right? Like drifting in the pocket. But again, it's almost like PTSD because I'm so used to pressure that even when pressure didn't always get there, sometimes he rushed his process. So I saw him drift, things like that, or he activated like playmaker mode. And I'm like, that's not like, yes, you're a functional athlete, but that is not your game to be out here juking and jiving like defensive linemen.
And like when we compare him to watching Jackson Dart and Cam Ward, and we have the Tyler Shuck episode tomorrow, that's not going to be where he wins, right? Like
those guys can do that. Like those guys athletically can do that.
They're stronger. They're more powerful. They have the explosiveness. That's not going to be where he wins. I agree with that, DP, and he needs to eliminate that element from his game. To trying to juke and make people miss, to be really creative. You're a guy that you might need to make the first defender miss and immediately get it out your hands, right?
I want to see him climb the pocket more, climb the pocket vertically, and then we talked about the O-line, getting Casey Concepcion, adding Denzel Boston was a clear priority for the team, Keith. Harold Fannin probably is going to be the guy that number 1 for that team out the gate because they have a strong connection, and then they let David Njoku go because of Harold Fannin and what they saw from him as a rookie. So with the new offensive line, you get Quinshon Judkins healthy and him be able to set the tone as a runner, getting these new young weapons. If he is the starter, if he wins this job, I'm going to be very excited to see how the first couple weeks go as they really find themselves and get comfortable because now he has more talent around him.
Yep, I'm going to end this off with saying this, DP. I think the one word for Shedeur Sanders was 2 words, right? It's 2 words, 1 phrase. Middle ground. You need a middle ground. It can't be all good and it can't be all bad, right? You need a middle ground. You need to kind of even kill, be able to stop the bleeding, right? Like a bad play can't turn into an interception. Let it turn into a throwaway or an incompletion, right? Something like that. So I think that's the phrase. He needs to develop the middle ground for his game. But DP, that wraps up another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow my friend on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, the rookie report card for Tyler Shuck. Do the New Orleans Saints have their new face of the franchise? I think so. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.